Welcome back to the Trevor Theismann Show, and today let's discuss an awesome podcast I listened to on the Joe Rogan Experience. It was with Ben Patrick with the Knees Over Toes guy. The Cliff Notes is basically this. The Knees Over Toes guy is a big component of training with your knee over your toe to alleviate and strengthen your knee, alleviate pain, and get your body functioning better. Now, that would be nails on a chalkboard to most strength and conditioning coaches through the 90s and early thousands, but as time has gone on, it seems like there may be a little bit more of an open dialogue between this concept. Now, the interesting thing that I think about his handle is it seems a little bit like he's really geared towards knees over toes, but when you truly listen to him in this podcast, he's explaining the different exercises he's doing, and to be honest, I don't really see anything awfully risky about it at all. His general ideas are a lot built around the sled, pulling, and pushing. Now, sleds have not really caught on in a lot of ways because it's difficult. If you're using a weighted sled, you've got to carry around weights. You've got to load them up to get them really heavy, move them in and out outside. Normally, you're not doing it in the indoor environments, but now gyms are also kind of embracing this turf aspect. So if you've got turf in your gym, you'll probably find some weighted sleds. That makes it a little bit easier. But the other technology is the Rogue sled that they were discussing in there. And I tell you, that is a really cool tool. You can push this sled or pull it. He talks an awful lot about strengthening your feet, your tibia, and different types of muscles when you're driving the sled forward, moving the sled backwards. You're going to be using those other muscles on the other side of the body. Both of them very important, but it's an interesting concept when you're thinking of this. But as I was saying, let me not get sidetracked. I know I get a little wordy here sometimes. So I was going to talk a little bit about the simplicity of what he's got going. He says that every day what he's doing is pushing and pulling a sled. That is very easy to do. If you have, you should be warming up anyway. If you're on a treadmill, elliptical, if you're an athlete or an older individual just trying to get some exercise in, you've got to have some kind of a warm up. So if he's receiving all these benefits from these different clients about how they're strengthening their knee and how much that's benefiting them, try moving it into your workouts. Moving through a simple driving a sled or pulling something backwards, walking more backwards. If it helps your knee, it may be worth a try. I started incorporating this the last couple weeks, and I have to say I do feel a little bit stronger in the knee. I always seem to get these zingers in my right knee. A combination of twisting on it, pitching all those years, but then I also had a big wakeboard injury. I had the bindings too wide and really tweaked my knee one time. And ever since then, if I get a little fatigued, if I walk too far, if I do anything that makes that knee get a little bit too much action, I get a lot of nagging pain for the weeks to follow. Now, traditionally, what I've done to combat that is if my glutes, my hamstrings, or my IT bands are tight, then I go through a rigorous stretching routine for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and my knee is normally right back on track, functioning pretty good. But if I haven't really done this long enough to know for sure if it's going to be this epic change in my life, but I have used it as a warm-up for the last couple weeks, and it is pretty darn effective. I don't have any knee pain right now. The added load to my knee is not hurting me in a bad way by any means. So I would strongly suggest everybody give it a try. If you've got a banged up knee or need to strengthen your knee, you're not really functioning, or you're not really working straight on the knee. Like, imagine this. Think about the leg extension machine. I have seen all too often athletes or anyone working on training their quads, they get on the leg extension machine, load up the weight, and they are just railing back, yanking their chest, doing all that they can do to make this weight get up, because more weight means bigger muscles, right? Not always the case, but that is the way that a lot of people work out, and all they are doing is destroying their knees. So there are high-risk exercises that people are already doing. I don't see how a drag or a walking backwards is going to be any different than some of the kind of crappy exercises that a lot of people are already doing. Now, if you have a smaller environment, or you're like me and you're working on rubber floors, a sled is not going to work. Even if I use that Rogue sled with wheels that's assisted or it's got a braking mechanism in it, I can't use that on a rubber floor. The rubber floor is going to roll up. I've seen it a million times, even by running like weighted types of movements. It just moves too much unless you really have it glued to the floor. turf is going to be ideal for those types of movements. But what I've done is I've utilized heavy ballistic bands or victory ropes. I put the victory ropes around our squat rack, and I'll just backpedal out nice and easy doing that reverse walk, and it's adding resistance as I move, and then I resist it on the way in. So it's just another different format of actually doing this walking backwards, knees over toes format. Now, the other side of the coin, I'll flip it around and then I'll be walking with handles to get my drive format. But you don't exactly have to have a sled to get those kinds of movements. Don't get me wrong. I have not been putting hours and hours on the sled to tell you what the difference is. When I do, I'll chime back in and maybe I'll be tooting a different horn here and have a different reasoning that you may want to actually invest in a sled. But a lot of times you got to find equipment that you have access to, and that's not always the easiest thing to do. In the video that you see looping in the background, I went ahead and included that stretch routine that I normally do to get my glutes and my T bands a little looser. So be sure to refer to that, look at that. And as always, you can get on kbandstraining.com, use that training blog. I've got a whole stretching area there too if you need more ideas for that. But overall, I was I liked his story. You know, the Ben Patrick story is interesting to have a high school athlete that couldn't even dunk a basketball and now can almost hit his head on the rim just simply by training these back pedals. Now, don't get me wrong also. Let me also point out that the guy's diet is on point. He is in excellent shape. He works out all the time in his training. So there are a couple variables here that maybe just isn't knees over toes is getting him these tremendous results. But if you listen to what he says and you listen to his experiences and all the people that he's helped, it sounds like maybe that is the case. So maybe add it to your training. At least use it to mix up your cardio. If you're just doing simple jogging, if you're doing a dynamic warm-up, whether you're an athlete or someone looking to just get in better shape, mix up your cardio anyway. Who knows? Maybe you'll really enjoy it. It sure does get your heart rate up an awful lot faster than an elliptical and a bike. I've actually spent endless amounts of times on these two pieces of equipment because I've actually hid from banging up my knee. You know, I normally don't go run long distances because my knee hurts. I normally don't do a ton of HIIT style training anymore because my knee hurts. So I've moved into that low impact concept, your elliptical, your bike, and I'm sure I can relate to a lot of you. You know, you slowly start getting less and less work into that knee because it hurts, but maybe that's to your own detriment. You know, I've been open to that as well. It doesn't seem like my knee is getting better leaving it alone. So maybe take some extra time and focus on strength and blood flow to that knee will do the same thing that it's done to my neck. That is what I'm going to be doing the next couple of weeks. And I'll make another video and update you and let you know how my knee progress is. But right now it feels pretty great. And until I do something that really overtrains it, I normally don't feel it much anyway. But traditionally, if I was doing squats, jumping jacks, jump rope, tons of high energy plyometric style movements, my knee would be nagging for sure. So as much as I've been using my knee in the last several weeks doing all this backpedaling, I'm kind of shocked that I'm not feeling the things that I normally do. Well, that wraps up today's episode. If you have any comments and want to leave me a comment, I'll be sure to read them and reply to you with my thoughts, and have a great day.